On a day where Derrick Henry, Sarah, was moving, this guy was moving. 24 carries, 122 yards. That averaged out to 5.1 per carry. You don't go to him on 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal. He picks up 3 on 1st and goal and barrels right down the middle. All kinds of lane, all kinds of space. You then go to the Mark Andrews tush push. On 2nd and goal, not enough push. On 3rd and goal, not enough push. And on 4th and goal, you go back to Derrick Henry, who's stuffed. That's where Daniel Fa'alele yet again ends up on the turf. And you're thinking to yourself, how? I get it. Derrick Henry's forte or his strong suit isn't exactly short yard situations. I don't care. How do you not? That is inexplicable. John Harbaugh
did you
tried
just
to
say
explain
Derrick
it.
Henry's forte is not short yardage situations?
Everybody, if they're looking for a knock over time, historically, people will be like, oh, Derrick's a downhill runner. You don't want him for short yardage situations if you don't have to use him. Who cares? You needed him. And they went away from him after he picked up 3. He was bumbling and rolling and jolling and blah, 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 blah. John Harbaugh tried to explain the inexplicable Sarah postgame, and it sounded like this.
The tush push with Mark there at the end of the first half twice in a row, did you give any consideration to not going to it a second straight play?
Well, of course you do, but I feel like the main consideration, I think all of us would agree, every single player and coach would agree that we should be pushing that in there. It should get pushed in on the first one, and if not the first one, it should get pushed in on the second one. So, yeah, we gave consideration. The fact that it didn't go in, I think it's easy to criticize it, and I'll do the same myself, you know. But, I mean, come on, you know, we should be able to put that in there. So I'm disappointed in that one. Then the other play, you know, I didn't love that play either. So.
Why do you think they didn't work? Say you want to push it in, but why?
We didn't get any push. I mean, you've got to get pad under pad, and you've got to get push, you know. And we didn't do it well, obviously. I mean, we're a big physical offensive line. We got big physical guys. Mark's a big physical guy, and you know he's pushing. So that should happen, you know. So we didn't do it well. I can tell you that. We didn't do it as well as the Eagles do it. That's obvious. You know, we don't expect to be as good as they do it necessarily. I mean, they're kind of it's what they do. But we can do it well enough to score from inside the 1 yard line. There's no question about that. I give the Rams credit, but I take you know, that's on us. That should get done. Everybody, every person in that room tell you the same thing.
All right. So, Sarah, let's kind of give some context when it comes to the timetable, whatnot. This is prior to the first half, under 2 minutes left. Again, the Ravens are driving. They're moving the ball with ease, courtesy of Derrick Henry. It is 1st and goal. You go to Derrick, who brings it inside the 1 yard line. And not to reiterate what I've already mentioned while teasing that John Harbaugh clip that you just listened to, but they go with Mark Andrews twice, back-to-back plays, tush push, Eagles style, who apparently, I guess the Eagles, I guess he doesn't feel like they can match what Philadelphia does. Maybe he missed, but I'm sure he's going to want that one back. All right.
We don't expect to be as good as the Philadelphia Eagles? What?
I know. That was crazy.
Go ahead.
I don't know what. Gosh, man, that was like perplexing. But I think 2 things can be true. One, you're darn right. Everybody in that building should expect and feel absolutely more than disappointed, humiliated that you don't get enough push inside the 1 yard line to cross the plane, right? That's what number one. That should be true. And you know what also should be true? Having a familiarity and feel for the personnel that you have. And that is not what happened there, whether it was Todd Monken, John Harbaugh, or a combination of the two. That is inexcusable. And as Kobe super chatted us about a few moments ago, that right there was the game.
I have so much to say on this topic. Just to give a little bit more details about what Derrick Henry was doing leading up to that. It was after that Wester return. First Wester, the Ravens got lucky. Ravens got lucky on that one. Wester had fumbled it. There's a penalty on the play. Wester has a sweet return on his second try. Derrick Henry, 5 yards. Derrick Henry, 8 yards. Derrick Henry, 5 yards. Derrick Henry, 10 yards. Derrick Henry, 3 yards. Now you're at the 1. No Derrick Henry? After that? 5 yards, 8 yards, 5 yards, 10 yards, 3 yards? See ya. Bye, Derrick. Thanks for getting us here. We're going to hand it over to our tight end of the tush push. What?
which obviously has had success in past years. Who cares?
But it
Who
also hasn't. Like, it
cares?
hasn't. I remember so many times the Ravens went on 4th and 1 with Mandrews there and it didn't work. It's worked more recently, but there's been more time. I'm very curious how many times the Mark Andrews Tush Push has been converted. My bet is it's somewhere around 50%. It's not a given. Not anywhere close to the Eagles, but apparently that's not the expectation. Probably because you don't have the offensive line. Here's the point that you just made that I want to drive home a little bit further is you're not having a feel for the game. John Harbaugh was asked right after that question that we just, not right after, but later in the press conference, John, was that Todd Monken that called all 3 plays for the 1 yard? Or did you step in at any point? John gives this answer. Those are the planned calls. Those are the calls that get made. Kind of vague, which means that we have to speculate. And so if he says those are the planned calls, then to me, that's John saying I had input before the game. And if we were going to be at the 1 yard line, we wanted to do the tush push. I could be wrong, but John avoided the question for a reason. And here's the point that we're getting to. How can you have, I get that you have like a menu of plays when you get to the goal line. Have a menu. That menu at the goal line has to include Derrick Henry with some creativity, especially if he's the one who got you to the 1 yard line. 5, 8, 5, 10, 3 yards, back to back to back to back to back. How is there not a feel to say, Derrick Henry has got stuff going. Let's keep feeding him. How is that not the thing? And then so like I'm yelling at the TV. People saw it in my tweets. Like you have Derrick Henry. I don't know where you've heard that Derrick Henry isn't good in short yardage situations because my view is different. You have Derrick Henry at the goal line. Use him. So there's that part of it. Derrick Henry had all the momentum. Use it. Don't go to whatever plans you had before. It could be a part of the menu, but it can't be like, oh, yeah, that's what we're going to go with no matter what.
Well, you want to know what there can't be.
What? Go ahead.
You want to know what there can't be? This coming from your Pro Bowl center. I mean, I guess he's being honest, but here you go. Sam Cohen covers the Ravens for the Baltimore Sun. Take a look at what Tyler Linderbaum told him in a media scrum post-game. Quote, they wanted it more than us. Comes down to who wants it more. That's what Tyler Linderbaum told reporters post-game.
And that's the part that John Harbaugh did tell the truth on. When he says, listen, what's the bigger consideration is like, yeah, we could have gone with Derrick Henry, but the offensive line has to get that. And that's also true. It's like two things are true at once. Give it to the man that has the hot hand behind that offensive line that didn't have any want to. When he's got the hot hand, not on your third attempt with, by the way, no creativity, because now the want to is already set in. It's already set in because when Derrick Henry did get a try, the offensive line not only didn't get the push on the tush pushes, but look at this. Look at this. Derrick Henry didn't have a chance.
Look at Fa'alele. He's on the ground.
Fa'alele's on the ground. Right in front of him is, what's the tight end's name again? Mitchell Patton?
Yeah, Zaire Mitchell-Payton, one of the undrafted rookies.
Yes. And he just gets blown up. Neither of these guys do a dang thing. So here's the point, though, Bobby, is it's like John Harbaugh's correct. They should push it in on the 1 yard line with the tush push. They also should push it in from the 1 yard line with Derrick Henry. They should be pushing it in from the 1 yard line. The problem is your offensive line. But you refuse to acknowledge it. He says in there, everybody knows. Yeah, we could have gone with Derrick. Yeah, we could have done that. He goes, but the coaches know, the players know, we all know we should have gotten it in. But all the fans knew that was a big possibility because everybody's been talking about these guards. We've been talking about Fa'alele for 2 years and almost 2 years now. We're not surprised that Fa'alele's on the ground. You are. We're not surprised. I can give Mitchell Patton a pass because he's not Patrick Ricard. And Patrick Ricard, I have a lot more confidence in making that tackle, and then Derrick Henry being able to bounce outside and get in there. But I'm not surprised by Fa'alele. Tom Brady's criticizing. He's like, I don't like pulling guards on the 1 yard line. And so we're not surprised by it, but for some reason you are. So make changes. You said 2 weeks ago, if you're not developing, we'll make up to the point we thought you were, we'll make the changes. And so, yeah, we wanted to go with the hot hand. We don't like the tush push behind this offensive line. We don't, almost everything. How many times have they been stopped at the goal line or inside the red zone? They were ranked 23 coming into it in the red zone, and then they're 0 for 3 today. Make the changes. Make the changes. We all know what the problem is. Make the changes.
You know, it's crazy. He said post-game, Sarah, John Harbaugh did, that he felt like they could have won that game. And you want to know why I actually agree with him?
Because of this sequence?
Well, so what I want to spend a minute or two talking about is what led up to this sequence in terms of the gifts that the Rams were giving over and over and over to the Ravens. The amount of gift giving, Sarah, that led up to this sequence right here actually does make me believe that they could have won this game. And let me just rip off a couple of the gifts. Christmas came early. They missed a field goal. They doinked that field goal. The Rams did.
And it wasn't a 50-yarder. That was like, it looked like a chip shot.
It was close to a chip shot. Okay. Matthew Stafford early on in that first quarter had multiple misfires on what would be touchdowns. Devontae Adams had a couple first half drops, including one on third down. They had multiple pre-snap penalties that extended the Ravens' drive, literally single-handedly their first drive that led to their field goal and their lone points of the day. Okay. A couple people have mentioned the illegal man downfield penalty on special teams that nullified the LeJontay Wester fumble. What does he then do? Returns it 30-plus yards on the second time through. They don't convert that into a points, even though they were in great field position. The amount of gifts that the Rams gave to the Ravens that went either unreceived or unexecuted or whatever you want to call it. You know, I feel like I've mentioned this analogy before in the last week or so. Some people just aren't good at receiving gifts, and that was the Ravens today. They were terrible at receiving gifts. So they could have won this game. But when you do all of that, when you ignore all that gift giving and then end the half in gutting fashion like this, of course you come out and start turning the ball over and playing lackadaisical football to start out the second half. It's terrible. It was a terrible sequence, and obviously, ultimately, they couldn't overcome it.
It is. It's where their spirits felt like it was crushed, right? Even the first series, like they were running, and Derek was doing so well, and so was Justice Hill. But then they shot themselves in the foot. The offensive line did. Remember, with the 2 holding calls, there was one on Ronnie Stanley, who didn't make it through this game, by the way, and then there was one on Fa'alele, right? Fa'alele. And so they were moving on that first drive. Here they were moving on the last drive, and you can't punch it in. And both times it was because of your offensive line. One because of penalties, the second time because they couldn't get push. The problem is your franchise quarterback has been on the sideline the last couple of weeks because he's been running for his life. You're telling us, well, we have to push it in from the 1 yard line. We agree. Make the changes.
Yep.
Make the changes.
Yep.
Protect your quarterback when he comes back. Protect him like you did the first time, and get push.
Yep.
And I don't know if the guys behind him are going to be better. I don't know. But I also wasn't sure. I was like, will Tyler Huntley be better? I don't know. But you don't know until you try it. And then Tyler Huntley was clearly better. It's not cutting it with these 2 guards. It's not doing it. Your quarterback was injured. You're not getting pushed. Derrick Henry isn't himself. There's no reason not to make the change. None. What do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose. You already hurt your quarterback already got hurt. You don't have anything to lose. Make the change.
Period.